Hi everyone, I'm George Coll. Thanks again for tuning in for another three-part series, Oil Painting Landscapes. Title of this work this week is Emerald Lake in Rocky Mountain National Park, Colorado. So this was block-in time, and what we did was cover all the canvas with paint, and we figured out where our basic shapes were going to be. Basically rocks and trees. Now I know it's kind of a boring looking start, but this is the part of the painting we build on top of. This is our foundation. And I go through that step by step, and I'm looking forward for you to jump in at home, follow me step by step. And a couple other things I want to tell you is get outside and paint. Paint with your friends, paint in a group, but paint weekly. That's the important thing, is stick with it weekly. I'll be glad to provide you in-studio classes, but that's only part of your education. You got to get outside and paint, and paint on your own. All right. Thanks. Bye-bye. Hi, I'm George Coll. Welcome to this week's painting. I hope it's going to be a three-part series and not a four. And the name of this painting is Emerald Lake. I'm going to be painting on a 13 by 26 canvas. I paint on canvas glued to gator board, and I buy big sheets of it, and then I can cut it up to any shape I want. Here on my palette you can see my basic palette of blue, red, yellow, Naples, and gray. So more specifically, this is ultra blue, permanent red medium, lemon yellow, Naples yellow deep, and cold gray. I also have some burnt sienna, some viridian, and some yellow ochre. These are student grades by Winton. These are Rembrandts here, except for my lemon yellow, which is a Gamblin. All right, so I'm going to be working today probably with a number 10 and a number 8. I'm going to have my scraping tool for scraping off my mixing area. This is also a good mixing tool here. My palette knife. Got my Turp to the side, I've got my paper towels, I've got my gloves on for protection, and I think I'm ready to paint. I want to build on a little bit of what we did last week. We had a lot of trees in shadow last week, and we're going to be enhancing and using some of those techniques that we learned last week on this painting here. If you didn't do last week's painting, which was named My Favorite Spot, don't worry, we'll go through the whole process here step by step to get it right. All right, so with that, I want to welcome the people on YouTube and on Uscreen. And so where do we get started? Well, I think the thing we want to do here on part one is block in. And block in for me means we're going to try to cover the whole canvas with a value color. These will be thin colors. They're not going to be heavy because we're going to work on top of them. And but at this stage we want to try to determine, what's going to be dark and light and where our shapes are going to be. We've got a lot of rocks here, we have a shore, and we have a bunch of vertical trees. I painted this about 8-10 years ago, and it's been a while, so I want to paint it again. I had a smaller painting, and as I recall, I really liked it. I don't have it around anymore, but I want to give it another try. So with that, I'm going to mix some colors. I'm going to do ultra blue and a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of viridian. I'm going to put in some gray. And I thoroughly mix it. What I notice with my students in studio, which I don't have many right now because of COVID, but before COVID, is that they don't mix their paints thoroughly. I want to do a foundation line, something I can build up from and build down from. And pretty much I see the trees and the lake as being a dividing line. And it's pretty level. And I have it's a little bit below center, so let me see if I'm below center. And I think I am. Yep. So I'm below center. And this is going to be a bunch of trees up in here, and this is going to be a bunch of water down here. So with that, let's start with the trees on top. We're going to mix a lot of blue. And we're going to get some red in there. And some gray. And some gray. Now I want you to make enough of it because we got a lot of area to cover. Again, that was ultra blue, cold gray, and some red. Should be making some sort of a purple. Gonna make some more ultra blue, gray, red. Now remember I said this is a thin stage. So I'm going to add some turp to the mixture. So it's kind of thin. And I'll even wipe it off after this. And I'm not wasting any time getting this done. This is not a time or a stage to be thinking about detail, about getting the trees in one by one. We will get into that in this stage, but just get these big block colors in first, value colors. And I'm running out of color already. You can hear from all the rattling going on from my palette here or my easel, that I'm getting down to business pretty darn quickly. I'm pushing on pretty hard. I'm going to use a slightly different mixture for down below. So I'm picking up my value color here. And let's switch over now to a new mixture. I think I can use my same brush. And this time we're going to use a ultra blue, and some lemon yellow, ultra blue, and gray, ultra blue. So you can see it's pretty dark. Okay, so we've made a very rich dark green because we have more blue in there than we have yellow. Now we're going to add some yellow ochre. Some yellow ochre. And finally we're going to add some burnt sienna. Let's Still not dark enough. I'll go back to my blue. A little bit more yellow ochre, some burnt sienna. So if you really look intently on your palette, you'll see kind of a brown green. And again, I hope I made enough. And let's get into it. Again, I want to do it thin, so fill up that brush. And after this stage, we're going to do some finger painting. It's really going to be fun. So now your whole canvas is covered. Now all you detail people are freaking out right now because there's no detail in here. And I understand that. So, and with that, I'm going to pick up what I have left over and move it to the side, which I don't have a whole lot. Get back to a clean mixing area. Okay, now what I'm going to do is thin out my paint. And watch what I'm doing. Switching my rag over to a drier side. And I'm throwing that rag away. And now I'm going to go down to the green. See, this one was more vertical, this one is more horizontal. Oops, sorry. Hit the camera for the Zoom students, sorry. And now you've covered your entire canvas with thin paint. All right, any questions this far from the Zoomers? While I clean my palette. Okay, now my gloves are got some paint on it, so I'm cleaning that off from doing my rag work. And let's see if I'm going to have some that are really thin and some that are left dark. Okay, I'm cleaning my brush for the next step. Now, this particular number 10 still is pretty sharp. It's not flared out. Oop, take my mask off. I don't need that. Well, I was having breakfast with the guys this morning, and I had to wear a mask, of course, in the restaurant. All right, so now it's time to just get some turpentine on your brush and start making trees. So again, the technique is dip it in your turp, take off any dripping excess, and start this tedious process of putting the trees in. And I think there's a rock over here, so I'll put that in. And there's some horizontal trees that are down. And there's some falling down trees. And then there's some stubby trees that don't go all the way up. I don't know if you guys hear the siren in the background, but we've had we're a couple blocks from the main road to Estes Park, and we have a lot of emergencies going up and down the canyon because we have people that come from out of state and they drive right off the road because they're looking at the pretty mountains and canyons. I don't want all these the same distance from each other, like I had too much the same. So you want to clump some. What's been going on recently is we had the big fires last fall, and we have more elk down here than we've ever had before. And some of us are theorizing we have more elk because a lot of their habitat was destroyed from the fire. So you can see I'm putting some slightly different angles in here. And I might be doing more of this off camera because it's just going to get really boring if I can continue doing this. But I want to spend more time down in here because this is kind of a no-brainer. And what I want you to do by the end of this session and before we get into tomorrow is get more trees in here, you know, and I'll be doing that. But over here we have a lot of rocks. So let's get over here. We have a lot of light coming in here. So I'm going to actually dip my rag into the turp and actually do a big swath, as you can see here, of light coming in. And I think I see some more in a different place up above. It's not quite so big, and I'll do that next. Oop, too high. And it's not quite so pronounced as the lower one. So I have those two drag outs right there. And I think this might be eventually grass and stuff like that coming out here. But then we have some big honkin' rocks. So here's my big honkin' rock, and I'm going to draw him out like that. I need some cleaner paper towels. Good day to have paper towels. And that's a rock shape. I want to get a few really big ones in here. Now I think there's another big rock behind, and I'm going to make mine kind of flat on the bottom. That's a rock shape. So here's shadow on one side and then more light over on this side. That's my rock, my first rock. Then there's another one that comes up from here. And I'm going to take him out and shape him. And now I'm just going for big rocks right now. And then right here is a connection of a smaller one. pretty much on the same plane, maybe not too much different. And there's a third rock. Now, my painting is longer than the reference, so I'm going to have to do some Bob Rossing, in other words, make it up. And I'm going to put some darker rocks over in here, which have some size to them. And I'm going to, they're more in shadow, so I don't have to make them quite so light. Well, I did, but. And then we have a whole bunch of little guys, which I'm going to be doing with my number 10. And again, just that my technique is I dip it, I wipe out the paint, and then I dry it off because I want to get the contamination off my brush. So it's a 3-step process. You dip, you draw out your shape. As they get farther back, they get smaller. Wipe off your contamination. You dip, and that's how you do it. I'm going to be spending more time doing this than and showing you how to do it as compared to the trees. Because I want to impress on the fact that you want to have bigger rocks and then smaller rocks. And you want to have some rocks that are connecting, like that, and then smaller as we get back. And even like dots. Okay. I think we have a log coming here. I'll put him in. And more rocks. Okay, it gets a little boring. Just hang in there. And I think we have a shore over here with a bunch of rocks around this. Oop, lost my image. You can find this image at georgecollgreatart.com and look for photo references. Oh, I think we have some smaller rocks in here. And some bigger rocks right here. And a lot of smaller rocks back in here. And I think we even have some in here. So this is kind of fun. We put paint on and then we take some paint off. That's what we're doing here. I need some bigger rocks right in here. I made that suggestion because that's what I see on the reference. These three guys are connected, A, B, and C. A, B, C. Bunch of little guys right in here. All right, that's enough rocks for now. And I'm going to go back and start doing more of these guys. See, I'm doing some of these, they're simulating trees, but I'm not cleaning my brush so much. These will look like they're more in the front, and then there'll be some in the back that aren't so bright. They're just kind of hidden back there. All right, I think that should do it for today. That's the main point I want you to get to. And off camera, I might take a double look and put a few more short guys that just come up a little ways. There's a whole bunch of those, so I might be doing a little of that and maybe a few more stones. But that's it, basically. And you've seen me already do that, so go ahead and go forth and do that. Okay, with that, I'll bring the U-screens in YouTube to an end. Thank you so much for coming by for part 1 of Emerald Lake. We'll see you in part 2 tomorrow, and thanks for stopping by.